We can now bring in Olesya Vartanyan, a senior South Caucasus analyst at the International Crisis Group. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us here on France 24. What do we know has come out of these talks?
Well, it's too early to say what exactly are the results, but it's clear that the agenda should include the topics that were agreed as part of the ceasefire that took place yesterday, and then which is about the demand that came from Baku to dismantle all the military troops that are present on the ground, but also the future of the local de facto authorities, those who are leading with enclave, what will be happening to them. But I would say that the most acute issue right now is certainly the humanitarian situation on the ground. There are thousands who are displaced and they cannot go back to their homes. You can see people hiding in the basements, and these are the people who still don't believe that the fighting is over, or they are the ones who are afraid about their own future. And there are those who also don't understand whether they should stay or leave and prepare for evacuation, probably to Armenia. These are all the processes that have to be organized, and then with humanitarian issues should be part of the discussion. I hope that they were also discussed today at the meeting and will be also part of the conversation that will be taking place later today at New York at the UN Security Council session.
Is it fair to say that Azerbaijan had the upper hand in these talks?
Absolutely. We know that the local authorities capitulated, basically, and this is not a surprise. Our organization has been working there.
But why did they capitulate? Why did they agree to these talks? Why did they agree to lay down their weapons and hand them over to Azerbaijan?
This is what I'm trying to explain to you. We have been working there on the ground for quite some time, and we were telling to everyone that the local forces, they are very weak, their numbers are small. Azerbaijani army is very strong. They have very important and privilege along the front line, that it would take just hours for the Azerbaijani army to take over. We were telling that, and unfortunately, it's really very unfortunate that despite all these cautious messages that were coming from organizations like ours, we still saw the military operation taking place.
Did the military operation take place, and did Russia not do enough to prevent civilian deaths?
On the one hand, it's not surprising that the Russian peacekeepers were not getting involved in the fighting, right? They are there to protect themselves. Their numbers are limited. But on the other hand, we all understand that Russia's importance and Russia's strength, including in this particular conflict, it doesn't come only from those who are present on the ground. Moscow could certainly get more involved in order to prevent this military operation, and also then when it started to limit its scale, it did not do enough. And then I think that it's very clear that this is a sign of Russia's declining power here in this part of the world, when Russia is so much focused only on its fighting in Ukraine and on the problem that it has with the West. It doesn't want to spare resources on any other places, even in its own neighborhood. And that comes at a cost. And that cost is with humanitarian crisis that we now see in Nagorno-Karabakh.
Elisa, let's talk about officials in Yerevan, because they have opted to take a back seat. They took a back seat in those ceasefire negotiations yesterday. They were not even present around the table today when Armenian separatists met Azerbaijani officials in Azerbaijan. Is that a problem? Should officials from Yerevan have forced their way into those talks?
You know, Armenia has been speaking about the military buildup at its own front line with Azerbaijan along the state border for a number of days now. Armenia's prime minister, he was sounding alarms in all different capitals. He spoke to many leaders, including French president, German leadership, the US and others, trying to tell them that the war was coming. His own army is almost non-existent. Armenia was never able to rebuild its own military forces following when they basically lost the war in 2020. Russia, its military ally, is now busy in Ukraine and doesn't show any sign that it would somehow help Armenia in that sense. So Armenia is effectively left with a very small toolbox, and there they can only rely on diplomatic tools and their engagement with the Western partners. This is what they have been doing. That didn't work.
And very briefly, what can we expect to see happen from the enclave? Because some 120,000 ethnic Armenians live in Nagorno-Karabakh. They feel that they're not being protected by anyone, by the West, by Armenia, by Russia. Can we expect an exodus? Or is that what's likely to happen here?
I'm afraid we might see thousands of people fleeing, and it's really very important to find a way to organize with process so that it takes place safely, so that people can leave. Doesn't matter what is their gender, what are their backgrounds. There were some signs that Azerbaijan might try to select those who were part, for example, of the local military or who were part of the local de facto authorities. These are the people, if they want to leave, they should have a chance to leave. Those who want to stay, they need to have some sort of protection or something like, a feeling that they can continue their dignified life while being at their homeland. How it will happen, it will be a very long process. Involvement of the international organizations and foreign powers watching this will be very essential. And that's why it's really very important for them to raise this issue at today's UN Security Council meeting.
Olesya Vartanyan, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you.